What strange thing did you find out about someone else that they thought was perfectly normal? A friend of mine didn't know that after you insert the tampon, you pull out the applicator. Found this out in college after being dumbfounded why everyone preferred tampons over pads. She was walking around with that terrible piece of plastic up there all this time. One of my friends and I were talking about going home for the holidays. She mentioned how she hates going home because her dad always wants her to sleep in the same bed as him, and her mom is completely fine with it. So, being me, I poked a little. She said, well, I mean, it was okay when I was a teenager, but I'm 23 now. It's just dumb, you know. I asked more on what it entailed. Her dad even showered with her up until she was 17. I tried to tell her how that's abuse and she just laughed it off. I grabbed her shoulders and was like, that's abuse, you should talk to someone. Her parents are divorced. They have been for quite some time. I haven't seen her in a while, so I'm not sure how it turned out, but it still makes me shiver. I lived with a girl that would eat baby powder that she had stashed in the drawer of the bathroom. She would walk by the bathroom and do quick shakes of the bottle right in her mouth. She would also buy whole frozen fish from Walmart and take them out of the freezer bag and slap them hard against the brick kitchen floor before cooking them in a stew. Guy had 3 nuts. Thought he just had an extra testicle. We told him it was probably a tumor. It was. When my wife and I started dating, and still now, she collects all her hair that naturally falls out during the day, whether on the hairbrush couch bed, or wherever she finds her hair. She then wraps it around her fingers into a little ball, and collects the wads in bags. I asked her what she does with all the Ziploc bags of hair, and she told me she eventually burns it. She made this a habit, and she still can't explain to me why she does it. My grandma fed me hot dog water in the form of hot cocoa with the recycled boiled hot dog water. She thought it was okay to do, and just told me years later. A family member thought that hallucinations were something everyone dealt with. They thought that monsters under the bed and other cultural tales of ghosts were real things, which were further confirmed by their experience. It then led to later diagnosis of schizophrenia once they couldn't cope well enough to deal with the symptoms, and it became evident to family members. There was this guy I went to college with. When he was in the shower, if the urge hit him, he would just take a shit in the shower instead of getting out to use the toilet. He did this the whole time he was a kid apparently, and it wasn't till he got to college and had to share bathroom facilities that he found out other people showering in adjacent stalls weren't cool with smelling shit as he waffle stomped a log down the drain. I worked with a guy who had some kind of gut problem, and he'd be sitting at his desk and vomit into a cup. Not a lot, but like a verb. A few times a day, even in meetings. Finally, his boss talked to him and said that was not cool and he should see a doctor. The guy was surprised. Why? He asked. He apparently had been doing this all his life. He went to a doctor, and what you know, they had medicine for his condition. The guy grew up in some country where his condition was never addressed, either because of poverty or neglect. Probably both. But the damage was already done. Everyone avoided the vomit guy. He was eventually let go. My ex and her entire family share a toothbrush. She argued it like they were all sharing a hairbrush. Glad that ended. I have a friend who has lost an immense amount of weight, yet eats and drinks like crap all the time. It had been revealed to me by him that he often feels so full sometimes that he just makes himself puke to feel better. This has been going on for quite a few years now. He's straight up bulimic and thinks it's just a neat little way to get rid of all the bad foods and drinks he gorges himself with. He's gotten so good at making himself puke, it's almost silent. No gagging sounds, no messy puke splatter. Just a stream of chewed up food and beers. I'm quite sure that even his wife is oblivious to this. One time my best friend and I were on a voice chat as it was getting pretty late. At one point he said that he should probably head to bed because he was starting to see gory and otherwise disturbing things. Apparently he has hypnagogic hallucinations every so often and just assumed that it was normal when to see stuff when you get tired. My neighbors ate their cornflakes with orange juice instead of milk. Their parents had conditioned them all to think this was normal and acceptable behavior. A co-worker, mid-20s, Midwest born and raised, sat down with spaghetti one day for lunch. After twiddling the noodles around with a fork for a while, he looked at me and asked, "How do you eat this?" Thinking it was a joke, I laughed at him and kept eating. He looked at me with a straight face and said, "I've never had spaghetti." Me, don't you hate getting hit by those first few seconds of icy water when you turn on the shower? Roommate, what do you mean? Me, like in the morning, when you're standing in the shower and you have to turn it on for the first time and it's really cold on your skin. Roommate, wait, do you turn the shower on after getting in? Me, no. That was the day my mind was blown by the fact that you could turn the shower on before getting in. I was like 23 when I learned this lol. Okay, so my old roommate did a lot of drugs and drank a lot. One time I had a friend over and we were gonna smoke from my roommate's bong, and when my friend took a hit he threw up due to an extremely unpleasant taste and smell. We poured out the bong water and my roommate said he had never changed it out, and the water was very dark. I wanna say it was almost black, but it was at least just very dark. My roommate then said, "That looks like pee." We all looked at him in disbelief and asked if that's what his pee looked like, and he looked very concerned when we pressed him on it and when we said that that's not how pee should look. I also would like to add that we did tell him that he should go and see a doctor about that, to which he replied yeah, and then changed the subject. When my friend makes mac and cheese, she puts the cheese powder, milk, and butter into the boiling water. Senior year, study hall. I'm studying with a dude I knew. I don't remember the context, but we were talking about growing up and he says, and it was around that time when milk started coming out of my nipples, and I'm like, what? And he's like, you know when milk starts to come out, and I'm like, dude, that's not normal. The face he made when he realized the reality of the situation was memorable. He goes, that didn't happen to you? And I'm like, no. Then he asks the rest of the guys in study hall, did any of y'all have milk come out of your nips during puberty? They said no. Gave my best friend an orange. He bit into it like an apple, peel and all, and immediately declared orange is disgusting. He has never had one before, or seen one apparently. We were in high school. A friend told me about her roommate who keeps a large bin full of bread under her bed. Every week, she buys a new loaf and adds it to the bin. She doesn't actually eat that much bread, but has a huge bin full. My roommate in college thought you washed clothes on every single cycle on the washing machine. Our machine had a delicate cycle, a cotton cycle, a solo rinse cycle, a permanent press cycle, etc. He always complained about the washer taking forever. It's because he was washing his clothes 4 to 5 times every time he did laundry. I helped my older cousin move into a new house as a teenager. We worked non-stop for over 12 hours. I was so fucking exhausted that at one point I vomited in his front yard. The next day he acted like I was faking being tired, to which I responded, how the hell do you fake vomit? He goes easy and proceeds to instantly projectile vomit at will. I just look on in horror and bewilderment. He acted like it was perfectly normal and assumed everyone could do it. He got offended when I told him it was bizarre as hell. The fuck? My friend genuinely believed that leprechaun was just a term for indigenous Irish little people. My best friend recently told me that when he was little he thought the only way to clean his asshole was to jam the soap as far up as he could get it. Finally figured he was probably doing it wrong when he heard his mother scream at his dad, Seth. The soap smells like shit. Did you shove it up your ass or something? I still tease him about that to this day. I had a sleepover with a friend in middle school one weekend. I went to shower and she gave me a towel. It had a weird smell to it, but I couldn't find any other towels inside the bathroom, so I used it by patting myself barely and just air drying. Turns out her whole family shares a towel to prevent having to use new ones every time. I told her how weird that was, and she was shocked to find out that my family has their own towels to use, but we put them in the wash every 2 or so uses. I didn't sleep over there again. A friend of mine didn't know that after you insert the tampon, you pull out the applicator. Found this out in college after being dumbfounded why everyone preferred tampons over pads. She was walking around with that terrible piece of plastic up there all this time. One of my friends and I were talking about going home for the holidays. She mentioned how she hates going home because her dad always wants her to sleep in the same bed as him, and her mom is completely fine with it. So, being me, I poked a little. She said, well, I mean, it was okay when I was a teenager, but I'm 23 now. It's just dumb, you know. I asked more on what it entailed. Her dad even showered with her up until she was 17. I tried to tell her how that's abuse